Episode 6 in the Fallout television series is titled The Trap, and for good reason, which will become evident as we go through the episode, which is packed with tons of lore. The episode starts off with an ad for Vault-Tec on Galaxy News Television. It features a look into Vault 4, and we find out that this vault is set to be active prior to the bombs falling, and that it was populated entirely by scientists for 5 years. Based on what we know so far in the show, Vault 4 remained operational well past its design timeframe, which means that the bombs fell at some point during the 5-year stint. We also got to see Bud Askins, who we will learn more about in a future episode, introduce himself for the first time. Bud recently started working for Vault-Tec after leaving West-Tec. West-Tec, as you know, was a defense contractor for the government who developed the T-Series power armor. Cooper, when he served in the military, recalls his use of the T-45 version of the armor. Cooper wasn't particularly impressed with Bud, and in fact he seemed to be a bit annoyed by him because he lacked care and compassion for the men and women that died fighting in Alaska because of the design flaws of the T-45 armor. Bud was quite cavalier in his discussion and dismissed the reaction Cooper gave. He rolled right into a sales pitch for his plans for Vault-Tec. It was an odd interaction to say the least, but it won't be the last. We also see an interaction with Cooper and his wife Barbara. Cooper wants so desperately for his wife to share some quality time with him, but she seems distant in that regard. Probably the first sign that Cooper should have noticed that their marriage was on the outs. Later, at a party that his wife sprung on him, Cooper does his best to put on a happy face, only to leave the main party and sit by the pool with the only person that he invited that actually showed up. This is our first look at Sebastian Leslie, the voice of the Mr. Handy line of robot helpers. Mr. Handys, as you recall, were the product of General Atomics, who would later form a partnership with Robco for a variety of projects. Meanwhile, back in Vault 4, Lucy and Maximus find themselves in a quarantine room where a Vault doctor is in the process of caring for the wound that brought them both there to fix. Through a brief interaction, we learn that many of the Vault residents are survivors from Shady Sands. While in isolation, we learned that Maximus is not only a virgin, but kinda shy and scared about the idea of sex, as most people are the first time the possibility of such an act is present. Lucy makes the offer, which sends Maximus into a clearly uncomfortable state. The early moments in this vault show just how clueless Lucy really is. She believes they are safe because of her own experience in Vault 33. What she doesn't know is that each vault is just one experiment after another. Maximus, on the other hand, sees Vault 4 for what it really is, but allows himself to be convinced that Lucy is right. Through their interactions, he begins to fall in love with her. Lucy doesn't quite realize this just yet, but she will in time. Lucy begins to question things after speaking with Vault 4's overseer, and that is when she realizes that she might have misjudged the situation. The scene then cuts to Cooper and Barb in the hot tub. This is where another red flag appears in their relationship. Cooper talks about wanting to buy a ranch in Bakersfield to retire, and she gets annoyed at the very idea. As she picks up her Pip-Boy, she reveals that not all of the vaults are good vaults, and that she is trying to make sure they enter a good one. Cooper is put off guard by this, realizing that something isn't right, but plays it off like any good actor would. Later, we see Cooper and his friend Charlie talking in a bar where Charlie tells him about how bad it is to be involved with Vault-Tec. Charlie then invites Cooper to a meeting that people like him are attending to learn more about the state of things as it relates to the government and Vault-Tec. This brings us back to Cooper's house when another red flag pops up between him and Barbara when she informs him that there are no dogs allowed in the vaults. Cooper questions the whole notion and is visibly upset over this information. Barbara kind of manipulates the discussion by playing a major guilt trip, explaining why she is so determined to get them into one of the good vaults that she was talking about, and Cooper falls for it because of his love for her. Meanwhile, back in Vault 4, we learn a bit more about it and how it came to be that a vault that was populated entirely by scientists could have taken in surface dwellers. While we didn't learn the why just yet, we do learn that it became policy long ago, and that in this vault, the Overseer is also elected, much like Vault 33, where Lucy is from. While Lucy is speaking with the Overseer, Maximus is planning their escape and finds out where to get a fusion core. He is met by the same woman who spoke with Lucy earlier in the episode and convinces Maximus to spend the night in a room of his own. Once there, he starts to indulge and finds that he actually likes it here in Vault 4 because of all the amenities that it has to offer. This entire episode, Maximus and Lucy end up switching roles, and it is now Maximus who believes they are safe, and Lucy who believes they are in danger. At this point, we see Lucy stumble upon the school classroom, where it is apparent that the refugees of Shady Sands are attempting to teach their history. We see a timeline, 2142 when Shady Sands was founded, 2189 when the NCR was created, 2198 when Shady Sands became the capital of the NCR, 2241 when the NCR became the largest economic and political power in California, and 2277, the fall of Shady Sands. You may recall that this chalkboard sparked quite the controversy online within the Fallout community because of the 2277 date being linked to the fall of Shady Sands. To be honest, in my opinion, I have never thought that the NCR should have been created because it was just unreasonable based on everything that we learned in Fallout 1, but that is just my opinion. However, the fact that it says the fall of Shady Sands does not mean that it is when the bomb that destroyed the city hit it. I think it is a metaphor. You see, the NCR had grown far too quickly and spread itself too far to properly defend its borders and its people. Thus, the fall of Shady Sands, and it could be that the 2277 date just marks the point when the economic and political might of the NCR began to fade in Shady Sands. Since this has not yet been fully explained, it's really all speculation at this point. One thing that is not speculation is that the NCR is a shadow of its former self, and much of its territory has been lost. We know this because in the next scene we see the ghoul who was captured earlier by people claiming to be from the government, speaking with a man named Sorrow, who is now apparently the president of this so-called government. After the ghoul wins back his freedom by promptly killing his captors, he asks Sorrow about a picture of a woman that is wanted by the government. Sorrow tells the ghoul that it's Moldaver, and that's when the scene cuts back to pre-war, where Cooper visits the meeting he was invited to by Charlie. This entire scene cuts between Vault 4 and that meeting. In the Vault 4 sequence, a strange ritual is taking place. I won't show that part here because of the graphic nature, but rest assured, it's quite strange. And it's when Lucy realizes the people from Shady Sands are crazy. And it's because of Moldaver, who they refer to as the Flame Mother. Lucy tries to convince Maximus of all this, but he is completely blinded by all the things that he has experienced so far. Lucy decides that she must convince him, and so she goes to the one place that she was told was off limits, level 12. This is where the Gulpers that we saw in an earlier episode were created. In doing so, Lucy ends up getting into a fight with the survivors and ultimately captured by them. This is where the episode ends. So we know that Moldaver is from before the war and somehow survived without becoming a ghoul and without aging. This means that she was either part of a Vault-Tec vault that had some cryostasis tech, or she had access to some other tech that extended her life without changing her looks. Either way, we don't find out that piece of information. Now I want to hear from you. What did you think of this episode in the series? What are your theories on the fall of Shady Sands? What do you think happened to Moldaver? Sound off in the comments below. While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by. And I'll see you in the next one.